Hey friends, so it's me again, Melinda Harris from Digital Innovation. I am an instructional lead for Zone 2. So shout out to Zone 2. Woo woo. And then I have Jack here with me, and he's doing the chat for me. So if you have any questions, you can just go ahead and drop those into the chat, and I can answer those for you right here. So I am so excited to be able to do Smart 201 with you all because the features in this panel training are going to blow your mind. This is such an awesome training, and I really love it, and the schools that we have gone to have really loved this training as well. So get ready, buckle your seatbelts because it is going to be fun. All right. So, we're going to go ahead and get started. So, first of all, we're going to talk about the why. Why are the things that we're learning about today important? Number one, first and foremost, in the center of everything that we do, it improves student engagement, right? It allows your students to be engaged. It gives them something to do. We all know that when our students aren't engaged and they don't have something to do, they are busy, and not necessarily busy in a good way, right? So we want to give them some way to engage. And so the things that I'm going to show you today can be done here on the panel by one or two students, or if you enable finger inking, and we talk about that in Smart 101, by 4 or 5 or 6 or 20. I know you're not going to get 20 kids up here, but you can do that. But also, in addition to people being able to work up here, they're going to be able to work on their own devices. So we are super excited here in JCPS to have every one-to-one and every student having a device. And so it's super exciting that we can allow our students to do these kinds of things. Okay. The second reason that this is super important is it kind of allows flexibility in your lesson plans. How many times have you on the fly? I know that I've done it so many in my 13 years of teaching, just been like, dude, I wish that I had a Venn diagram or a graphic organizer that they could use. Guess what? This panel has that for you, and you can send it to them in about 1 minute, 30 seconds, probably 30 seconds flat, right? So that's super awesome because it kind of allows for that flexibility. And then the other thing that it allows for is it allows, not only is it more engaging, it's the little things for our kids. Not only is it more engaging that they get to use their computer than using a piece of paper, but it also, right, it allows them to not have to make those copies. How many of you have had to get to school early just to make copies? I know that I was that teacher, right? If I wanted copies, I knew that I was going to have to get there early, or the copy machine was either going to be out of paper, broken, or there was going to be 20 people in front of me, right? So this panel training and the things that this panel can do for you allow you to not have to deal with those things. All right. So let's go ahead and get started. So today we're going to learn how to use the interactive functions of our whiteboard. We're going to be able to use screen mirroring, and we're going to talk about some reasons that we might want to do that. And then also we're going to learn some different instructional strategies that we can use with our panel. And so here is our agenda. This is just kind of where we're going. We're going to talk about the interactive functions. We're going to talk about screen sharing, and then we're going to talk about some instructional strategies and some ways that you might use this in your classroom. Okay, so I already kind of talked about those things. The first thing that you're going to want to do, and everything that we're going to do today is going to require you to be signed in to your panel. So, Mindy, you're probably asking, Mindy, how do I know if I'm signed in? Well, if you look up here in the corner, you can see my little Bitmoji, and it's really old. I need to update it, right? But that is my old Bitmoji, so I know that I'm signed in, okay? If you are signed in, it will have your picture or whatever your Google picture may be. If you are not signed in, You can see it's a little kid here in the corner. That's it. That's how you know if you are signed into your panel or not. I'm going to give you a little trick. I have this really handy dandy keyboard here. It has, not only is it a keyboard, but it also has a touchpad here on the corner. And so what I've done is I've plugged it in to my panel using a USB. Okay. And so what it allows me to do is it allows me to control my panel from anywhere I am in the room. You can see my mouse kind of moving around. Okay. But not only that, it'll also let me type. And so this has been a lifesaver when it comes to signing into devices. And I don't know if they are still on sale, but they were only like $18 a couple days ago. So maybe you can still go snag that deal. Use that Amazon money that you got. So when you're signing in, here's what it looks like. You're going to push the little kid in the corner. Okay. And yours is going to look different because mine is already signed in. But it'll have a sign in button down here at the bottom. You click sign in, and then guess what? You get to sign in with Google. Super easy. You are going to have to type in your email. Again, that's why this keyboard comes in fabulously. You also are going to have to do your multi-factor authentication. So make sure to have your phone or your authenticator app or whatever it is that you use to authenticate with you when you get ready to sign in. Okay. So you're going to sign in with Google. It's going to make you put in your email twice. So I always select my entire email. The first time I hit Control A, will select all. And then I copy that. So I push Control C, which will copy it. And then when I go to the next screen, I will paste it using Control V. You can do all of those things right here in your panel as well. You don't actually have to use shortcuts for your keyboard, but those are just the shortcuts that I like to use. Okay, once you're signed in, couple things that you're going to want to make sure that you have enabled. Okay, so you're going to go to your settings, and most of you will already have a lot of these things done, but I just want to make sure that I'm giving you these settings so that you know exactly what settings you're going to need. The first one that you're going to want to make sure that you have is under Files Library. Okay, so I'm going to push my home button just so you can see it again, and I'm going to go to Settings. Okay, and I'm going to go to Files Library, and then where it says Default Whiteboard Location, I'm going to click on that. Okay. And if it doesn't say My Files Lumio, you need to select that. Okay. Sometimes, remember when we turned on our boards, it said, do you want to sync Lumio? And some of us are yes people and some of us are no people. I'm a yes person. I'm like, yeah, let's see what happens. Right. But some of us like to push no. So some of us push no. So when you turned it on, if you push no, that's how you fix it. Okay. So again, Files Library, default whiteboard location, My Files Lumio. Okay. Make sure that that is selected. You also, just not for anything necessarily that we're doing today, but for future, for something that you might want to use, go ahead and turn on that allow Google Drive integration in Files Library. Because guess what this does, guys, is it allows you to go to your Google Drive and see your waffle. Raise your hand if you've ever wanted to model like the waffle, right? I can't see you on YouTube, so just you could shout it out in the chat if you want to. But if you wanted to see your waffle, you could see your waffle there if you've turned on Google Drive integration. The other really awesome thing there is that it brings up all the features of Google Drive, so you can push file new and upload files that you've saved in your board, all of those things right there from there. Okay, the next thing that you're going to want to turn on, and again, maybe not necessarily for now, but for other things, enable finger inking. You know how I talked about how you could have multiple people at the board writing at one time. If you have finger inking on, you can do that. So we're going to turn that on. We're also going to make sure that shared whiteboard is turned on, and then annotation layers. And the only one that is not usually turned on is the finger inking. So my suggestion is just to turn on all three of those. Okay. Later on, we'll come back to our settings so that we can look at the smart mirror feature. But for now, those are the settings that I wanted you to see for sure. All right. So let's go ahead. See which one I had open. Okay. All right. So we are going to go into our whiteboard. Almost everything that we're going to do today is from the whiteboard. The whiteboard on the smart panels is so powerful. And after you see this, after I finish this presentation, you're going to be like, wow, why have I not been using that forever, right? So I'm going to go to my home screen and I'm going to open my whiteboard. So if I click on whiteboard, I'm going to open it. All right. So just very quickly, you have all your things at the bottom that you can change the background, all of those things. You have your tools on the side. We're going to go through all of those tools and all of the awesome things that you can do with those tools in Smart 101. Today I'm going to just show you a couple of the really other really engaging and interactive things that you can do with your kids here. All right. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to push the square with a plus sign. So when I do that, it's going to pull up a bunch of ready-made graphic organizers. Okay, so I'm sure you all have seen that, but I'm going to show you the things at the top first. Okay, so the first thing is just a whiteboard. If you click on that, that's just going to add a new whiteboard. Okay, it's just going to add a new page. That's it. That's all it's doing. It's adding a new page. But if you push the shout it out button, it is going to allow you to start this for your class. And when you do this, the students who are signed in, and you're probably like, well, Mindy, how do my students sign in? I'm about to show you. Okay, here's how you do it. You click on these people right here, and you see there's a little box outside of it, and it has a number in it. That box is telling you how many students are signed into this device. So there are right now 0 students signed into this device. Okay, but if it said 5, you know you had 5 people connected. Or if it says 10, you know you have 10 people connected. So when I click on that, okay, it's going to bring up how to get in. And look, we got one student in, Miss Dr. Receiver. If you all didn't know, she finished her doctorate, so she is now Dr. Receiver. So let's give her a round of applause. Woo, woo. Yeah, doctor in the house. So Dr. Receiver, make sure we point that out. Your students and Dr. Receiver went to hellosmart.com, and then she put in her code. They put in this code 455063. Guess what? When your students sign in one time, they're always connected to your class. So they're not going to have to do this all the time. They can bookmark Hello Smart. It'll be in their bookmark bar, and then they click on it from their bookmark bar, and it will automatically take them to my class. Okay? So as students log in, their names are going to pop up here on the side. Couple things that you can do with them. I can hit edit. You can select them and remove them if you would like. Okay. The other thing here that you're going to see is lesson pacing. So teacher and student. So teacher lesson pacing means that as I move through the slides in the whiteboard, the student devices move through the slides in the whiteboard. Okay. But if I have it on student paced, what it's going to do is it's going to make it's going to allow the students to move at their own pace. So this could be great for if you're doing modern classroom or you're trying to do some blended learning and you want them to have multiple things at one time and you want them to be able to go back and forth between the graphic organizers that you've given. You may put it on student pacing. All right. So now what you'll see here at the top is it says start session. So my students and Dr. Receiver who's logged in here, she cannot see anything that I'm doing right now because I haven't pushed start session. So what I'm going to do is I want this to go away. And I'm going to show you some other things that we do with this here in a minute. But I'm going to show you the shout it out first. So when I push start session, now what the students can do is they can send responses to the board. Okay. So if I said, what is your favorite color? They can, on their device, type their favorite color and it will pop up here on the board. Okay. So if I go to the settings wheel, I can change the number of contributions. I can also change if whether or not it displays their names. Maybe you don't want student names to be displayed. You don't want everybody to see what everybody's answering. You can turn that off and it'll just put an asterisk above their name so that you can't see it. If it's running and you want to change the number of contributions that students can make, you have to push pause. Okay. Once you push pause, it'll allow you to change this to how many ever you want it to change to. Then you can hit resume and the activity will continue to run. And so again, all the students are seeing on their device is a blank a screen that kind of looks like this. It has a gray background and a box. And what they can do is they can type their answers in this box. We use this a lot for when we had guest speakers. I don't know about your students, but my students, they would say, does anybody have any questions? And they would raise their hand and they would say, my favorite color is blue. That is not a question, right? So this was a really good way for the students to be able to put their questions up here and then we could filter them out. So when we had guest speakers, we would allow them to put their questions up here. And as they popped up on the screen, we could click on them and you could see them and you could make them bigger. And then we could filter out, like we could group our questions together. That way we didn't have multiple of the same question, but we also didn't have that random, my favorite color is green when we're asking a question. Okay, so there's that. This button will reset all of the answers or the responses that you've had. Now, this is my favorite secret of all time on this panel. Okay, in this star button, if you push this star button and you're in shout it out. So remember, I went to add activity and I went to shout it out. Okay, if you push this star button, you can turn on buzzers. And look, it puts buzzers at the bottom of your screen. So you could have 2 lines, right? Maybe 4. You could change this. You can have up to 4 buzzers at the bottom. You can have 4 lines. And then you might say 3 plus 3. Okay. So then the first person to hit it, they get to answer 6. Okay. Super fun, unfortunately. And so Dr. Receiver also shouted out her answer here, which is also another great way to engage all the students because, again, they get to put their answers here and the students who are buzzing in up here for their team. So that's super fun. Okay. You could use this with multiplication facts. You could use this if you were trying to do a spelling bee. You wanted them to spell their sight words. That you could have them buzz in. If you were doing, I don't know, Jack, what would you use this for? Trivia of the
U.S. history. I've used this all the time.
U.S. history trivia. See, there's our high school friend. I don't know what they do at high school. I just pretend like I know. But he might use it for history, for U.S. history. So this could be super fun to use. Then another thing that you can put on here is a randomizer. So this will give you numbers. And watch what happens when you push the hat. It gives you a number. Okay. It's just kind of like, your sticks, how you use your popsicle sticks. This kind of will give you a way to pick numbers. And again, it's the little things that are super engaging for our students. And so, this reminds me of a magic hat. And so the kids might think that that's super fun. Okay. The other thing that you can put on here is a timer. So what this timer will do is it'll give you a time. So if I said you have 30 seconds to answer or to give me all the questions that you have for our speaker, you could put that up there. And then what it would do is you can make it end the activity. And so in 30 seconds or 1 minute, when this timer goes off, the students' devices will shut down. So they can't anymore add any more questions or answers or responses here. Okay. So the next thing that I'm going to show you. So again, we're going to go back to the students. So I'm going to add a whiteboard. Okay. So let's just say that I have decided that I want students to compare and contrast an apple and an orange. Okay. And I want them to do this on a Venn diagram. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to come down here to my Venn diagram. Here's a Venn diagram. Now it's come up here. And this is great because I've turned on finger inking. So if I turn on finger inking here, enable finger inking, my kids can write up here. We can use the pen or that. But even better, you ready for this? Be ready because I'm about to blow your mind. You're going to be like, what? I wish I would have known this before. If you click on the people, okay, you can do a couple things. So remember, when you click on the people the first time, this is what it's going to look like. It's going to tell your students, it's going to give your students the directions. So Hello Smart, they go to hello.smart. They type in this code, or they can scan the QR code. Okay. Now I'm going to make that go away. Here's what it does. It allows me to convert this Venn diagram to either an individual handout, a group workspace, or a whole class whiteboard. So if I click on individual handout, here's what it's going to do. It is going to convert this into an individual handout for every student to work on their own device. And so just like if you think about Nearpod, it's going to have all those little tools on the side where they can write, add a picture, they can get a pen, they can add a text box, all of those things. And so what will happen is that as the students start the activity, their name is going to pop up here. Okay. So if you have 30 students can connect to the activity, and you want them to start the activity, their names are going to pop up here as they start. And what you can do is you can click into each one and see what they are working on. Okay. So as they come in, their work will be here, and you can see what they are doing. The other thing that you can do is you can push teacher handout. And so you could be working on the board up here. You could be working up here while they're working on their own devices. Okay, so that's a really neat kind of feature. You can do that with all of these things. So if I click this, and let's say that I want them to do a Freyer model for a word. Okay, I might give every student in the class a different word. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on individual handout. So I'm going to click on the person, right? And I'm going to click individual handout. Now, this isn't going to be working on their devices, and it's not going to be working on their devices yet because I didn't push start session. I'm going to push start session, and then I'm going to hit individual handout. And now they can all work on their Freyer model for their word. And then you can click into each person respectively and see their words, and they can come up and explain what their word and their definition and what they put in all their different places. So it's pretty awesome in giving students voice and also keeping them engaged, right? And then they can teach their friends. You can also do that with the manipulatives. So if you want your students, I was in a classroom just the other day, and we did making words, okay? And the teacher pushed this out to all of her students, and her students, this is not working because finger inking is turned on, so I'm going to turn off finger inking. And so her students made their spelling words right here on this board, and she pushed it out again. So she pushed the people, she pushed it out as an individual handout, and they all got to make their own board of words. So really, really cool. And you can do that with any of these things, any of these manipulatives. You can do it with any of these graphic organizers, these kinds of things. There is also in here, if you look in here, there is also, where did it go? Oh, a number line. Okay. And so this number line has little cars. Okay. And they can use and they can write, they can make their equation here. If you notice, there's negative numbers. So my friends that need, or even my friends that have little people, or even my friends that have big people, you may want a, you may want one of these that has a blank number line. And guess what? I got one for you. We will post it in the SDIL and ST. We will post it in the SDIL classroom so you can get with your school digital innovation leader at your school, and they will have a copy of that for you. So if you are interested in one of these with a blank number line, I've got you. And you can do that. Then if it's blank, you can put whatever numbers you want to put on there. And again, you can get with your school digital innovation leader for that if you would like it. The next thing that you could do, so the next thing that you could do with this is you could click on your people, okay? You can make this a group workspace. All right. And so what this is going to do is it's going to allow groups of students that you select to work together. So if I hit setup, it's going to have multiple, it's going to bring up, it's going to let me pick how many students I want in each group. How many teams would you like? And I don't have enough people in here, so it's not going to let me do it. But it's going to let you select how many teams you want. So if you have 30 kids, you might want 6 teams. Or if you have, 24 kids, you might decide that you want to have 3 teams, however many teams that you want. And then it's going to divide them. And this is the best part. It's going to randomly divide them into teams. So you're not even responsible for it, right? Like, you know how hard it is to group kids, right? So this one just randomly groups them, okay? Puts them together. But if you don't like the random group feature, it will actually allow you to click on the person's name. So you click and hold, and it'll let you drag them to a different team so that you can move the students around as you please, which is really, really awesome if you want to do that. Okay, so once you do that, and then it starts, it's going to let those 4 or 6 or 5 people or how many ever people you have in a group work together on their board. Okay, so this was the number line one. So if I have the number line one and I've shared it to a group of 5 people, those 5 people are working on the same number line. Okay, and then the next group is working on their own number line. So it's the whole group of students working. And then guess what? Just like with our individual handouts, it will bring up the groups here, and you can click in and you can see what they're doing. So you can click in and see what every group is doing and working on there. So that's a super fun way to be able to do that. Okay. The next thing that you could do, okay, so this one is the group one. But let's say I wanted to do some sorting shapes, but I wanted everybody to be working at the same time. Now, this may not be what you want to do. You may not want all of your students collaborating on the same whiteboard at one time, but you can have them collaborating on one whiteboard at the same time by clicking the whole class whiteboard. And what this is going to allow to happen is it's going to allow every student who signed into the class to work on this whiteboard. And as students are making changes on their devices, you're going to see it up here on this device. Okay. So whenever they're logged in, if they're making changes, you're going to see it right here on this device. Okay. So if you want to stay on this page and you want to explain it and you don't want the kids changing anything anymore, you can click everyone to edit, and that will turn off the editing so that no one on their computers can edit it anymore. If you turn it back on, everyone on their computers can change it. Anything that they add, anything that you change, you can see it up here. Okay. Unfortunately, there is not a way at this point to see when you're on the panel who added what. Okay. if you have it open, if you also have this same activity open on your computer through Lumio, you can see who did what. And you can actually, it's really cool if you do it through Lumio, because if, let's say, somebody adds a text box and then someone else goes and edits their text box, you can actually see who edited it and what edit they made. So that's really nice. If you want to be able to see those kinds of things, you can pull that up through Lumio on your computer. All right. So those are kind of the things. If you want, again, start session, stop session. Start session will allow them to work in here. Stop session is going to make it so that they can't work through here anymore. Okay. So super, super awesome features that you can use right here on your panel. Really awesome things that you can do right there with your panel. Okay. The next thing, let's see. Click on, let's see if I click on the right one. I did. All right. So we clicked on our people. This is what it's going to look like when your students sign in the first time. So we're talking a lot about what students are going to do. So here's what they're going to see. When they go to hellosmart.com, it looks like this. Okay. Welcome, students. If it's the first time they've ever signed in to Lumio, they're going to sign in with Google just like we do all the time, right? Very easily. They click on sign in with Google. They click on their email and it does it for them. Okay. Then they have to tell if they're adult or a minor, right? They're students or they're minors. They click on there and then they can type in their display name. So not whatever they want, right? No. But whatever you want their name, whatever their name is. Okay. So I put Mindy here because my name is Mindy. But Johnny will put John, and then they put in their class ID. Okay. So just kind of remember that when your students are going through, the first thing they're going to enter is their display name, their name. So they want to put their name first, and then they put in the code. Okay. So they're going to sign in with Google, put in their name, put in the code. Okay. Because sometimes the kids will put in the code first and then their name is displayed as the code and then you don't know who it was. So then you have to kind of go back through Hello Smart and go through the settings there to kind of change their name. So make sure then to do that. Make sure then that they know to put their name first. Okay. So just like I said before, you're going to go to you're going to go to your carrots. They're going to go to hellosmart.com and put in this code. And that's kind of where you see that code. Okay. Here's the student view of the shouted out. So this is what it looks like. When I opened this shouted out on the whiteboard, here it is. Here's what it looks like on their side. This is all they see. Just a blank screen with a box where they get to enter their response. Okay. And then they can send their response. Once they type in, they can hit this, send their response. And then it tells them how many responses they have left. Okay. So, and here's what it looks like when your students are in. Here's their name. Okay. You can click on these and actually make them bigger. And if you look, then the corner, when you open it and make it bigger, there's some arrows. It's either in the top corner or the bottom corner. Apologize that I don't remember. But there's arrows and you can click through and you can see them all at once, all big at one time. So you don't have to click down. Okay. There's your shouted out refresh. We kind of talked about that. The student whiteboard, the collaborative whiteboard where everybody can edit. All right. The next thing that we're going to talk about is screen sharing. I'm going to go to my home screen. Okay. And I'm going to click on, before I do that, there has been an update to screen sharing. And it's a really awesome update. So you're going to go into your settings and change that. So the first thing you're going to want to do is go to your settings. Okay. And then you're going to go, this one doesn't have it because this one was installed. This one was before. Okay. So on the side under application settings, you're going to see you're going to see screen share, and then it'll be default. You'll click default screen share, and you want to change that to smart mirror. And I apologize that I forgot that this panel was not one that you have to change. So again, right here under application settings, you're going to click on screen share, and then you're going to click on over here, default screen share, and you're going to change it to smart mirror. What it's going to do is it's going to run a download. Okay. When you open it for the first time, it's going to ask you to update and install. I think I was able to do this within no more than probably 3 minutes on some devices at some schools. Okay. But you're going to change that to smart mirror so that you can see what it looks like when you screen share. So if I click on screen share, this is smart mirror. Okay. This is so much easier than the old way of screen sharing. Okay. So you're going to go to screen share. You're going to click on it, and then you're going to go, it's going to bring this up and it's going to tell you, open your app or go to smartmirror.link. So all you do is you go to smartmirror.link. Okay. So you can do this, or your students can do this. I was in a classroom just the other day, and we were talking about how could we use this. And so one of the things that we talked about was the students share their screen, and then I share my screen with the rubric, and they share their work on one, and then we put it in grid view. And then if you have them both side by side, right, you can use the rubric on one side and then the work on the other, and you can use those two side by side to grade work as a group, right? That's the most powerful thing that we can do with our students, is allow them to reflect on their work and allow them to reflect on other people's work, because guess what? It makes them better, right? So if we're allowing that to happen, we can do it that way. So what they do is they go to smartmirror.link, and then they put in this code 849350. Okay. Then I'm going to go to, before I do that, I'm going to go to settings, and I'm going to go to session management. Okay. And I'm going to turn on moderator mode. Okay. So what this does is it doesn't allow everybody to just join. It doesn't allow the students to just push share on their screen and then it work. They actually have to be invited. So nobody's going to be able to just share to this board without being invited. Okay. So I always turn on moderator mode. Okay. Floating ID is going to give you the, if you look here, it's going to have your ID kind of hanging out over here. So it's over here. The other thing here that you can do is you can change the name of your panel. Okay. So if I change it to that, okay, it's going to save it. Okay. Now, this is named Smart. Okay. So here's what I'm going to do. Someone's going to sign in, and they're going to put in this code, and it's going to say, and they're going to have to share their screen just like they would normally on it. If you think about a Meet, it says share your screen or share a tab. They're going to select share screen or share a tab, and their name is going to pop up here for me to invite them, because remember, I turned on moderator mode. So I want to invite them to present. I don't just want them presenting. Okay. So their name is going to pop up here. And then I'd click on who I wanted to present. Okay. And then it will allow me to present. So here's what the other thing that you can do here is you can go to grid view, and you can see up to four screens at one time. Okay. Jack, could you go to smartmirror.link and join this code and share maybe the gold day schedule? Do you have that happen to have that pulled up?
I have our internal one. I'll share that. Okay.
Okay. So you'll see that it is super easy have this happen. So again, you'll see that it didn't just allow him to share. I have to invite him to present. So I'm going to click on it, and then I'm going to click on invite to present. Then it's asking him to share his screen. And just like,
I'll just do our clear touch panel one.
Okay.
Even though that's the wrong one. But anyway.
So then he's sharing his screen. And the reason that I wanted him to log in is because I really wanted to show you this, because I know this has come up several times. People are like, how do I get rid of this? So Jack has presented, and I don't want him to be presenting anymore. Do you see very small over here in the corner is a menu button? It's very small in the bottom corner. I know it's hard to find, but if you click on it, now it's going to bring up all different kinds of things that you can do here on this screen share. So one of the things that I can do is I can change the sound. The cursor is going to give me the cursor, but I can also write on his. So remember when I was talking about earlier about having some work here and a rubric here. So if you put it in that, if you use the grid view, you can have the rubric here, and you can have the student screen here, and then you can write on both screens at the same with the pen right here. Okay. The eraser, if I click on the eraser, it's not like normal. You can't use your whole hand. Okay. You have to like use one finger and erase like that. Okay. But it'll erase it. You can also hit clear. So if I hit clear, it's going to clear all. Okay. I can also capture. So now what I've done is I've taken a picture of his work, and it's saved to my board, which I can later then update or upload to my drive. Okay. It also came in here. So you can share, if you want to dig into it a little bit more, you can share these devices. So you can share different items between the people that are connected. You can add them here, and then everybody can see these different things or links, things like that. Okay. You can change it to whiteboard, but if you push home, it's going to disconnect Jack. And so now he is no longer connected to my panel. Okay. So I know that there had been some questions before about people being able to be in and you don't know how to get rid of them. If you click that little menu button in the corner and then you push home, it will disconnect them. So then the other thing that you can do is I can still invite Jack because he's still connected, right? But if I don't want him to be able to do that, I can long press and hold, and it will disconnect him totally from this panel. So he's no longer connected, and he has to put in the code again. If you want to change codes, if you have lots of kids that are like remembering your code and you need to change your code, you can hit new session and it'll give you a new code. So you may, if you're in a high school, you may want to do that between classes. Push new session, it gives you a new code. The kids can't write, they can't get back in if they don't have the new code. That might just be something that you want to do. Okay. You're going to have your grid view. That's going to let you have 4 at one time. Okay. Then, so the next thing, so again, that's just screen share, and you may have to update that through your settings to smart mirror on your device. Okay. So the next thing that we have, this is what I put all these in here. This is what it looks like on the student side, or when you're getting ready to share. You go to smartmirror.link, and it has you put in the session ID and your name. You hit connect, and then it lets you, it has you choose what to share, an entire screen, a window, or a Chrome tab, and then it'll allow you to push share there. So then again here, I just a reminder, that menu button over here, it allows you then to pull out the menu, and you can get a pen, an eraser, you can take a picture of the work. All right, so that's kind of the screen share. The next thing that I want to talk about are just some ways that you could use this in your classroom. How can I use my panel in my classroom? So one thing that you can do is you can give them student voice. Okay, so something that I liked to do that you could do in your classroom is you could put a quote in the middle, so you can change the background to the wall, okay, the brick wall, and then put a quote or a picture in the middle, and then the students write what they think about the quote around the outside. Okay. Um, this is fun because then the kids think they're graffitiing. So again, it's the little things, right? I've talked about that a lot, that it was always the little things that engaged my students. So I could put this in, I could let them graffiti around here what they've learned or what they think about the quote. They could use that. You could also have them uh, tell what they know. So this is just one of those Frere model graphic organizers that we pulled up from the add activity button on the whiteboard. And then they put organelle in the middle, and then they put different organelles on the outside, or things that they knew about organelles there, which is pretty cool, right? They can put their pictures. You can assign this you could assign this to groups of students. You could assign this to one student. You could also just put it on the board and let the kids write on it here on the board. So that's pretty neat. Another thing that you could use this for is small groups. Okay. So one thing that you could do, and this would be really great just for if you have different groups of students, if you're doing reading groups, something like that, you may actually want them to use the board. When we're in small group in the back of the room, we can't monitor everybody's computer, right? But we can see what they're doing if they're working here on this panel. So what I might do is I might have one group working on cause and effect. So I put their activity here. I might have one group working on a story map. I would put their activity here. I might have one group doing cause and effect or Venn diagram. And so then what I would do is I would allow them, I would say, like, group 1, you're going to work on slide 2. Okay. So what they do is they can go right here and they can go to slide 2. And now you can have your group, that small group of 4 or 5 kids, up here working on a panel, and you can see what they're doing in the back of the room. And then group 3, you're going to tell them to work on slide 3 until, just for reference, in case you don't know, right here in the corner, this square with the number, it tells you what page you are on. Okay. So you might have them do that. You might also then have the next group do the Venn diagram. So now you've got three different groups working on 3 different things, but they're all working at the panel at some point. Okay. The next thing that you might have them do, or you might do from the board, is just allow them to kind of tell what they know. So you could do a picture word induction model by putting a picture in the middle, and then they tell what they know around the outside. You could also do a check-in. So you could put one of these graphic organizers on the panel, and their reflection is here in the middle, and then they go and they write around the outside. They all pick a different circle and write what they learned, or their takeaway, or their reflection. You could also have a stoplight and have the kids kind of check off where they are. If they're good, they can check a green. If they're not so good, they could check a red. So you can kind of get a feel of where they are. You could also have them do a parking lot. That's a good, the shout it out activity is great for a parking lot. But also you could just have it up here, and they just come and write their ideas or park their ideas. So I know that was a lot, but I hope that you have learned something new that you didn't know. And my hope really is that you learn something that you can use tomorrow in your classroom, because that's our goal here at Digital Innovation, is making sure that we give you something that you can use tomorrow.